Thank you, Phyllis. That was beautiful. Good morning. My name is Patricia, and I will be your service leader today. Welcome to the Unity of Bloomington. At Unity, we offer practical spiritual teachings that empower abundant and meaningful living. We are a center for spiritual growth, and we provide inspiration, tools, and practices that support people on their path of spiritual growth. Please stand and join us in combining our voices in joyful song. Please remain standing and join me in affirming our statement of being. Together, there is only one presence and one power in the universe, God, the good, omnipotent. This power expresses life, love, wisdom, and abundance through me. In it, I live and move and have my being. Please be seated. One way we empower abundant and meaningful living is by practicing and living our 5 basic principles. I will state the principle and invite you to respond with the affirmation. There is only one presence and one power active in the universe and in our lives. God the good, omnipotent. God is. We are spiritual beings created in God's image. The Spirit of God is within each of us. I am. We create the experience of our lives through our thoughts and beliefs. I create. We become aware of our oneness through prayer and meditation. I pray. We transform our lives by putting these principles into practice. I live. I now invite Reverend Lynette up for our moment with the children.
Oh, hi, Ella. I thought Jim was going to have to be my kid this morning. Okay, let's sit down. I may need somebody to help me up when we're done. Do you remember the power we've been talking about this month? It's okay if you don't.
Understanding.
That's it, yeah. Okay. Understanding is, I think of it as being when I get it. You know, with computer stuff, I didn't start as early as you did with my computer. So, I don't get it a lot of times. But thank goodness there are people like you to help me. There's a place in the Bible that I think talks about understanding, although it doesn't actually use that word. In the letter to the Ephesians, which was one of the churches back in the early days, Paul prays that God will open the eyes of the Ephesians' heart. What do you think that means, to open the eyes of my heart? Kind of an interesting, is that a metaphor or simile? If I was going to open the eyes of my heart and look at you, I would see you with love, which is, we think about love being in the heart, so if I open my heart's eyes, I will look at you with love. A word that Kelly Patton taught me, or a phrase, is look at you with soft eyes. Do you know, can you imagine looking at somebody with soft eyes? Yeah. What would be the opposite of soft eyes?
Hard.
Yeah. And what hard eyes would be more likely to not to understand, maybe to criticize or judge even. Yeah. But because our heart is the love center, when we open the eyes of our heart, we're looking with love. And I do think that makes understanding easier. And sometimes I think about it as looking with God's eyes. Another word for understanding is insight. And when I looked up in the dictionary, insight, it said to look into. So it's sight. I can see the pattern in your leggings. Insight would be, that's colorful, and Ella's colorful, so I bet she likes those leggings. You just got them, okay. I think you'll grow to like them. And I thought a fun thing to do with insight, we do not have permission, copyright permission, to show these pictures in our recordings, so you're not going to get to see them, but Ella does. If you Google artofplay.com, ambiguous images, you can look at some of these, and you've probably seen some of them. This is, you may be able to see this, Rubens' vase. Oh, I love that. No, I don't. Rubens' vase, also sometimes known as Rubens' faces, because it's ambiguous. Is this a vase or is this two profiles looking at each other? And I think that's an interesting example of insight, to look past the surface of something. When you look at that, do you see the vase or the faces first? Faces first. But do you see the vase in between them? If you look at the white space instead of the dark space? Yeah. Now let me see if I can get back to the first one, because it has, no, of course not. That would be too easy. It's okay, I bookmarked it last night. So now I can't remember how to find my bookmarks. That's great. See, what did I tell you? I don't get it. There are other ambiguous images. Have you ever seen one of those before? Where a picture, you can kind of see one thing and another thing?
Yes, but we don't have it in our house.
You do, oh, yeah. I mostly have seen them other places. I don't think I own any ambiguous art. All right, this is Art of Play. Here we go. This is another famous one. Stop that. My phone helps me too much sometimes. What do you see in that picture? Yeah, that's what I saw too. And some of these, it was hard for me not to see anything but the obvious image. And I think that's true in life. You know, we go on first impressions, and we do judge books by their covers. So we don't always look past that first image. If you think about those, what looks like a beak on a duck, if you think about that as ears, there it is. What can you see? Instead of that being a duck, it's a bunny rabbit. That's right. I'm going to show you the hardest one, and I had to stand on my head to finally see this one. This kind of looks like, at first glance, looks like what? A frog. Yeah, it's a frog. And it says, share when you see the horse. And I thought, horse? Seriously? Can you see it? Horse. It's just the head. That helped me. And this is its... Yeah, that was kind of what I thought too. But look, can you see this is the mane and this is the face? And it's kind of a horse leaning back like this. Just its head. There's its eye and its nose. It's hard to see. It's just a frog. Okay, and sometimes a frog is just a frog. But this is to remind us to look past the surface of things. If we really want to understand something, usually first glance is not going to give us the key. We need to open the eyes of our heart and look a little bit deeper, and that's when God mind shows us what it is that's really important in something, or what we might have missed just at first glance. So I will email your mom a copy of this picture so you and she can work on it at home and find the horse.
Horseback riding
Well, maybe after looking at a real horse, it'll make it easier to see. See, how about that? Does that make it easier to see the horse? Oh, it's gone again. Okay,
Have
we'll
fun at
sing,
camp.
and that we can depend on that.
Mhm. Have fun at camp, Ella.
Yeah. Cool.
I like to taste the sunshine. I like to smell the wind. I like to feel the earth move. I like to be a friend. I like to hear the rainbow singing the color blue. I like the fact that I like someone like you.
In 2021, Unity's annual theme is how to stay centered no matter what. Each month, we explore the role that one of the 12 powers plays in staying centered and achieving inner peace no matter what is occurring around us. This month, we are exploring the power of understanding. Divine knowing is our nature. We perceive truths that are timeless. When faced with truths that challenge our human perceptions, we move through temporary discomfort to gain deeper insight and awareness. We hold a vision of unwavering good, trusting that every experience aligns with our well-being. We are steady and secure, and our understanding empowers us to be authentic and bold. When we or others fall short of our divine nature, we respond with compassion, setting firm but loving boundaries that honor our sacredness and theirs. Spiritual understanding is a clear compass directing us to our highest and best. Please join me in claiming this truth as our own, together. With spiritual understanding, I know everything is unfolding for my highest good. I have an announcement this morning. We had tentatively planned on having a grand opening scheduled here at Unity on Sunday, August 1st. However, we have decided to postpone our celebration to a later date. So please stay tuned for future details. And now, the daily word. The word for today is journey. The affirmation is, my life's journey begins and ends in the heart of God. From the daily word. I feel excitement at the beginning of a journey, thinking about the adventures, the beautiful sights, and the fascinating people I will find at my journey's end. Even as I look forward to reaching my destination, however, I remain alert, open to the adventures and insights that await discovery along the way. My faith tells me that my spiritual journey began in the heart of God, long before my human birth. In childhood, I looked outward, longing for the adventures that would become waypoints on my journey to maturity. Now I journey inward, longing for the spiritual home I never really left. I am learning that even the most ordinary day can become an opportunity to realize that the heart of God is present everywhere. From Psalm 121:8, the Lord will keep your going out and your coming in from this time on and forevermore. Now we'll join together in speaking the affirmation aloud. Together, my life's journey begins and ends in the heart of God. And now repeat it to yourself silently. My life's journey begins and ends in the heart of God. Our speaker today is our spiritual ministry co-coordinator, Reverend Lynette Carlson. Reverend Lynette and Phyllis Wycliffe will now provide our musical inspiration.
Thank you, Phyllis. And thank you, Tana, for being ready if I needed help getting up. I never know. And it's just so embarrassing to get stuck. Oh, thank you all for understanding and for bringing that power to life with us here this morning. I think understanding is actually one of the things we all do pretty well, but it's worth thinking about how it is we go about that. On the rare instance when it might fail us, when we don't understand and we're trying to figure out how to back out of that misunderstanding and find the right way. And frankly, you only have to turn on the television news for a few minutes and you will probably trip over some of your own challenges in understanding. I certainly do. As I watch news reports about almost anything, especially politics, but really the news is all about surprising us and entertaining us and keeping us interested. So there's a lot of, oh, really? Why would they do that? How could they think that? I just, that head on the swivel thing when I watch TV news. Lots of wondering. And I'd sometimes just hear myself and others saying, I don't understand. I'll never understand why such and such. So, while we're studying the power of understanding, we live in a really big, complex world where I don't think there's enough understanding to go around. There are a lot of things that just leave us scratching our heads. I don't know how many billions of dollars I would have to have before I thought it was a good idea to go up and spend 3 minutes weightless in order to live to tell about it. I mean, that's about what the net result of that little trip into space was. So I can just think of lots of better things to do with my 3 billion or whatever it is. All of these 12 abilities, and I'm not going to show Ginger up by singing the original tune for my 12-hour song. But take my word for it. I originally put it to Yankee Doodle, and I had no idea it would work with King Wenceslas. So you learn something almost every day. When we develop our 12 powers to a high degree, then these powers empower us to be the highest and best expression of who we can be. And today I want to explore with you a practical application of the principles that I believe has the power to really heal the polarization in our world. But first I want to begin with some basics. I think Ginger mentioned last week Maslow's hierarchy of needs, often depicted as I want to call it a pyramid, but it really isn't. It's just a triangle because it's two-dimensional, with the foundational level being the slice all the way across the bottom, and then the slices get thinner. And I think that's because each successive layer is more concentrated and our survival depends less on it. But our quality of life tends to be focused at the pinnacle rather than on, am I going to be able to eat today, which is that lowest layer in the triangle. I didn't realize that the paper that Maslow wrote where he introduced this hierarchy of needs way back in 1943 was subtitled A Theory of Human Motivation. So it's not really about needs, it's about what drives people. And Maslow's theory is that when we don't have enough at the lowest level, that's what motivates us. We want to be satisfied at the level where we find things missing. And our survival really depends on it because the first layer is physiological needs. We can't aspire to the higher values, to meet our higher needs, if we don't keep our bodies alive. So that first layer is physiological. Food, water, clean air. It's what motivates a lot of, especially young people, around climate change, because they see those physiological needs being seriously threatened. So that's an urgent need, because they'd like to have a world in another 20 years that they could comfortably exist in. The next layer, once you get the basic needs met, the next layer is safety needs. And that includes physical safety for ourselves and for those we protect, as well as access to the resources to feed, clothe, and house ourselves. So it's very much hooked in with the physiological needs. It's great to be able to eat today. It's even better if I know I have the resources to be what is often referred to now as food secure. So I not only know where my next meal is coming from, I know where the one after that and the one after that is coming from. So that's that second layer. Once we get the conditions established for life, then we like to be able to maintain them. That makes sense. The third layer in that triangle is relational. We need each other. It's as simple as that. Now, sometimes that's tied into safety. Sometimes it's tied into, I need you to watch my back. You know, two of us, there are more eyes. We get closer to a 360-degree view. So one of us will spot the saber tooth before it's upon us. That's my evolutionary theory, is what would the saber-toothed tiger do? But relationally, we really do need community. All the studies that say we'll all live longer if we have a relational network, a social network. It's one of the reasons that people who aren't particularly believers are encouraged to go to church, because there's people there and they'll act like they like you until they know you, and then they will really like you. So church is a good place to make community. Belongingness, love, and friendship. So that's the third level. Existence, safety, relational. The fourth layer, and there are 5 altogether, surprised me a little bit. The first 3, they made sense. I probably could have guessed them. But the fourth level is status, which is about what is our standing in the community. And it doesn't necessarily mean that we all are seeking high status, but we want to know where we stand. And we all want respect. Some of you are old enough that you watched MASH, if not in the original, in the reruns. And there's a great speech that the nurse O'Houlihan gives to, I think it's her fiance's mother, about requiring respect because this woman is treating her like an Irish housemaid. Respect is important to us because it's part of our self-esteem. And that's part of what is involved in status too. I know where I stand. I know who I am. I respect myself. And when I have that reflected back to me in my relationships, it's confirming. It feels good. And it's a real need. I guess I always thought of status as kind of, gravy or some kind of special extras and not necessarily essential. But it really is. And I became aware at the level of status that these needs were getting more and more abstract as we moved up the triangle. You know whether or not you have your next meal. It's a little harder to read what your status is within a community, but we get it in subtle and not so subtle ways. Thank goodness we don't all need to be king or queen of the hill in order to get this need met. There are some people who are horrified at the thought that their status would be to be in charge or to be an example, a public figure. We don't all want that, which is good, because it would get really crowded at the top of the hill if we all needed to be there. But it is important to know where we stand, and that changes over time. As a kid, you recognize that you have a lot to learn, and then you learn a lot, and you recognize that you've made a place for yourself in the world, and you might actually even have something to offer others. Then the very top of that triangle is called self-actualization. A couple of paragraphs, I referred to this concept of self-actualization as the highest and best expression of the divine that we can be. I doubt that Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, co-founders of Unity, ever heard the term self-actualization. But it was a concept that they both understood and taught. And that's what the teachings about the 12 powers are all about. Developing all of our potential to the highest level in order that each one of us might vibrate at the highest frequency possible and experience the most elevated consciousness that's available to us. As we learned a couple of years ago when we studied Felice Blanco Searcy's book, Do Greater Things, do you remember that one? That was Jesus' admonition to the disciples. Jesus didn't tell us, don't you dare try to rival what I've done in this life. Even if we do get that message occasionally from church leaders, Jesus never said that. Jesus said, you're going to do things like I did and even greater things. That's in the 14th chapter of John. That is the spiritual goal of self-actualization. To do the most, to be the best, to do greater things than we thought possible. And in so doing, to shine our light in a way that brightens the whole world. It's not just for our own self-aggrandizement. This whole scheme of needs and the way that they motivate us and why they're important is all about aiding our human understanding of why people do what they do. It's far too easy to assume that everything we know has everything they really need. This hierarchy breaks it down so it's easier to grasp what it is that motivates folks. It's as if each layer in this diagram allowed us to wear a lens, a certain lens, through which we saw life, our experiences, and other people. If my most basic needs on that bottom layer are either not met or are so tenuous that one blown tire or one sick child could jeopardize my ability to provide, then I may experience fear, stress, even anger. If you live next door and your basic needs are covered, it may be difficult for you to understand my attitude. We live in a society where shame is attached to not having enough. And so we, especially of the basics, and so we tend to hide that. I'm fine, I'm fine. My refrigerator's empty, so is my pocketbook, but I'm fine. Because we don't want to draw the attention or the judgment or any of the negative things that might come. It would hurt our status if you found out how little I have. This is where we can call on the power of understanding. In truthunity.net, Mark Hicks, who writes that website, has this quote that I thought captured the unity approach to understanding and its spiritual importance. He writes, "Spiritual understanding cannot be obtained. It is only revealed by God to those who have an understanding heart, because they have experienced a new spiritual birth and have a consciousness of the ever-abiding inner presence." He says, I know that's a packed sentence, but know that each phrase of that sentence is repeated several times in this essay that he was writing about, which was Emily Cady's understanding or realization. He goes on to say, Emily Cady speaks of a consciousness of an inner abiding presence at least 16 times. It is for her the essential factor in experiencing life spiritually. She writes, the very spirit of truth which has come to abide with you forever in your consciousness takes of the deep things of God and reveals them unto you. You know that the living light, the living word within you, will guide you into all truth. For Emily Cady, being born again metaphysically is a consciousness of oneness with the Father. But spiritually, the first thing a baby must do is bond. The baby must ask, to whom do I go to get my needs met? And we know that if the baby does not bond, then life for that baby will always be difficult. But for the baby who bonds, who knows that a loving parent is present, that there is someone who loves and cares, life is good. That God is present, that God is presence, that we are one with our Father, Mother, God in a personal way is the foundational truth of spiritual understanding and is the basis for spiritual living. As with the newborn baby, so it is with the newborn Christian. We are not born in sin, we are born in bondedness. And that is spiritual understanding. I think that we're all compelled to make sense of, to make meaning of, and in our lives, to understand ourselves and others. Deep understanding is a result of an open, inquiring mind and an open and compassionate heart, and the experience of oneness with the divine. I suggested in my blurb for this week's newsletter that listening is a necessary component of understanding. Well, the University of Minnesota includes the Earl E. Bakken Center for Spirituality and Healing, keeping in mind that this university is affiliated with the Mayo Clinic. So healing and spirituality are kind of in the water in this part of Minnesota. They identify deep listening as a process of listening to learn. It requires a temporary suspension of judgment and a willingness to receive new information, whether pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. And they offer 3 key principles and practices for deep listening. To listen deeply, listen to learn, not just what is said, but what is alive in the other that hasn't been spoken out loud yet. I like that. I like that notion of being on the lookout for the unspoken truth that is still very much present in the moment and in the room. Second, listen for understanding rather than agreement or rebuttal. Doesn't matter what I think, I want to know what you think. And third, deep listening requires asking powerful questions that demonstrate curiosity about the other's deeper feelings and desires, emotions, wants, and needs. And that's why I told you a little bit about that hierarchy of needs, so you would have in mind that those are all important motivators that could help you to understand what's going on with this other person. And perhaps the most important in deep listening is our awareness of our own personal response. Let's say I want to understand your position on the Chinese takeover of Hong Kong. I thought that might be a safe political thing to discuss. Please forgive me if I offend anyone in talking about this. And as you explain your position, I start to feel uneasy. That's a good time to take a break. Would you excuse me for a moment? I need to get a drink of water. I'm going to have a drink of water. I step away and I say, what's this about? What is that? Why am I uneasy? And I kind of run through the laundry list. In my body, I have felt that familiar feeling of the steel door that rises from my solar plexus to cover my heart. And I know that's defensiveness. I don't feel safe. And I'm like, what? Okay, so am I trying to defend China, Hong Kong, democracy? Oh, maybe that's it. The free press? Yeah, that's kind of it. So I get a handle on my reaction as I'm trying to understand where you're coming from. And the purpose is to bracket that, if possible. So I check in with myself to figure out what did that touch in me. And then I have to decide, can I compartmentalize that and come back and say, well, that makes me realize some of my own values in this situation. Why don't you tell me more? Or, and I have to be honest with myself at this point, when I stepped away and I got in touch with what it was that made me uneasy in our conversation, and I'm not doing very well at releasing that or setting it aside. Doesn't mean I need to change my mind, but just to be able to bracket it so that I can come back and focus on what matters in you to this, then it's okay to come back and say, you know, I never realized how strongly I feel about this. Would it be okay if we waited to continue our conversation until I can reflect a little bit more on this? Thank you for helping me to learn this about myself. So understanding happens, whether it happens between us or if it's just about me peeling off another layer of my own thoughts and feelings. You know, understanding is not really something for which we strive. Although we may want it very much, it's not something we can conjure up by the force of our will. I will understand this. You know, like I had a trigonometry teacher who did not get that. She was sure she could teach us anything. Understanding trig didn't always work. But as Mark Hick writes, spiritual understanding is not obtained, it is revealed by God to those who have an understanding heart, because they have experienced a new spiritual birth and have a consciousness of the ever-abiding inner presence. We are responsible for creating the right conditions for understanding by opening our minds and our hearts and practicing self-awareness. And when the conditions are right, we affirm that understanding will come, it will be revealed, and it will bless us. And now our music team is going to help us prepare for meditation.
Place
As you breathe deeply and relax, allow your seat to support you. Breathe deeply and exhale slowly as you allow your head to float up and lengthen your spine. And join me in this meditation from Linda Martella Whitsett. Center your awareness above your eyebrows and inward to the front of your brain. This is the seat of spiritual understanding. Breathe in and out slowly and intentionally draw oxygen into the area of the brain responsible for logic, mental association, planning, and impulse control. Shine the light of understanding like precious golden beams of light throughout your frontal lobes, cleansing your brain, clearing foggy thinking and any misunderstanding. Feel free to use these words as your own. I am the power of understanding, listening to my life and making meaningful connections between my experiences, thoughts, beliefs, and feelings. I comprehend my essential eternal nature as I pause in this moment of stillness. I am spiritual insight, seeing beneath the words and actions of others their true spiritual nature and my own. Compassion is the fruit of my insight. Understanding oneness, I act in ways that foster unity. Divine understanding is my name and nature. By the power of understanding, I learn from my life. The power of understanding guides me by the one mind through which I realize eternal truths. I am divine understanding expression now in the silence.
I am the heart, I am the hands, I am the voice of spirit on earth, and who I am, and all I do is a blessing to spirit on earth, and who you are
turn to the spiritual practice of generosity. We're grateful for the many ways this center supports us in our spiritual growth. And we, in turn, are happy to support this center with our financial contributions and our voluntary service. We are also grateful to those who have already put in place automatic weekly, monthly, or quarterly giving. Today, if you feel led to give, visit our website at unityofbloomington.org and click the giving link. And if you brought a tithe or love offering with you this morning, we invite you to place it in the singing bowl at the back of the chapel on your way out after the service. The singing bowl is also where you can leave your prayer requests. You will find the prayer request card in the pocket of the seat in front of you. Join me now in speaking aloud our abundance affirmation. Together. I am an abundant being living in an abundant universe. God is the source of my supply. I am not dependent on people or situations for my good. God is the source of my supply. I always have something to give, and I consistently give it. I expect the best, I give my best, and I now attract the best in every experience.
Go out and shine your light. You know the time is right. You gotta go out and shine your light. Go out and shine. Go out and shine. Go out and shine your light. You know the time is right. You gotta go out and shine your light. Go out and shine. Go out and shine. Step out and take a chance. Walk the talk, join the dance. Relax, enjoy the ride. Let kindness be your guide. Come on and go out and shine your light. You know the time is right. You gotta go out and shine your light. Go out and shine. Go out and shine. One voice, one hand, one heart. Wanna change, make a start. We're one big family. Love shines through you, love shines through me. Come on and go out and shine your light. You know the time is right. You gotta go out and shine your light. Go out and shine. Go out and shine. Go out and shine. Go out and shine.
We bless our abundance with these words. Together.
Divine
Love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I would like to invite you to stand now and join with me in saying our closing prayer. Together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. In gratitude for our radiant health, please remain in place and join us in singing together, Let There Be Peace on Earth.